Welcome back. We are in part 3 and now we're going to introduce game states. So you can go ahead and basically read this here for a little bit more detailed. But as you can see here, the very first game state, which is going to be called 0, that's when the game hasn't started yet, and I believe we're going to press a button and then we'll start the game. The second state is actually state number 1, which I know sounds a little strange. But that's when you're actually playing. That's called the mid-game state. And then when the player then dies and it's game over, it will then move to state 2. Okay, and that's all maybe a little bit confusing because it's actually starting off with 0 instead of 1, but that's the way it goes. Okay, so the way that we're going to do it is we're going to use something called a scene variable. So what they want us to do now is create a new event, and you can see I commented my state section here, just trying to stay organized. And so we're going to go ahead and say beginning. So at the beginning of the scene, and then we're going to go here to add an action, and this is going to be we're going to check the value of a scene variable. Whoops. Okay, so, and I believe they're right here. Here we go, variables, value of a scene variable. And again, I could also just type in the word variable and find it. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so now I need to actually make 3 variables. I need to make 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so the variable is just going to be called state. This is the part that does confuse people. You click inside the variable line and you don't see anything. And so it's actually this blue button right over here that allows you to make variables. And I wish the GDevelop team would make this a big plus symbol or some text that says create variable, but that's where you have to do it there. Then you click on the plus button here and now you can actually make a variable. So I'm going to go ahead and call this state. And it is case sensitive, so make sure that you remember whether you're using capital or not. And then I'm going to say is equal to or set to, and I'm going to set the value to 0. Oops. And up here with variable, now I can click on it, and now you'll see I can choose state. And there we go. Okay, so at the beginning of our game, it's going to start off the game at a 0 scene variable. Okay, so next what they want is, they're saying that we don't want the game to start immediately. We want to start after the user presses a key. So we'll do that in a little bit here. And you can see here in this screenshot, they want that when the platforms are moving, that's when the state is set to 1. So let's go over here, and that's going to happen right up here. So we're going to add a condition, variables, value of a scene, and it's going to be state equal to 1. Okay, so scene variable state equals 1, and then add a platform, and there we go. Okay, so if you're looking at this screenshot here, you'll see that there's a couple of changes going on here as well. They made all of these other events here become sub-events. So that means they're children events based on this first event here. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I'm going to actually take this condition, this event here, and drag it up and out. And then this comment is going to go in. And so all I'm doing is I'm dragging on these little blue bars here to drag them in, and that then makes it a sub-event. There we go. I'll save. And the last thing I'm seeing on this screenshot here is that for this first event, they have the set animation to idle. So I'm going to come right up here to this first one here, and I'll just, whoops. I'll actually just copy this. So I'll right mouse click on the set animation. I'll copy it. I'll paste it, and I'll set it not to jump. This is going to be to idle. Oops. Okay. And I'm not quite sure why they did that, but maybe it's just to start it off with the character set to idle. Okay, so now if I go and I play my game, you'll see that right now the condition, it's set to 1. So if I press play, nothing is happening. No animation, no jumping, no movement on the platforms. And that's because at the beginning of the scene, it's set to 0 for the state. So now we want to set it up. The tutorial is having us set it up so that when the player presses a key, it will then change the state and we'll get things moving. All right, so we're going to create a new event. And I'm going to just copy this condition, paste it down here, except it's not going to be set to 1, it's going to be set to 0. Okay, and then we need a second condition, so both conditions have to be true or met for it to do the action. And so we're going to have it press a key. So we're going to have it press the space bar. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this one and paste it. Okay, so I'm going to have them press the space bar. The tutorial has you press the up arrow, but we're doing the space bar for mine. Okay, and then the action is going to change the state to 1. So again, I'm going to, instead of looking for it, I'm just going to find it, copy it, paste it, and then I'm going to change the state from 0 to 1. Okay, so let's just test and see if that works. Awesome. So now you'll see that the game starts, but it doesn't actually start playing until we press the space bar, and then we basically have a running game. Okay, good. All right, so this is the first time that we're going to add a condition, and we're going to add in what are called subconditions. So of course that's going to be a little bit more complex, and this screenshot right here that my mouse is over is what we're going to be creating. So let's start off by creating a comment. And a new event, and we're going to add our condition. And it says to go over here to the advanced category, and we want an or condition. And there's nothing to set up, so just press. Okay, so you can see here's the condition. If one of these conditions is true, then we get the ability down here, because we use an or condition, now we get the option to add in subconditions. Okay, so we're basically going to check the X position and the Y position of the player. And if it falls within these numbers here, -50 on the X or 600 on the Y, we can assume that the character has left the game screen and gone off screen. So let's try that. So let's go ahead and add a subcondition, And let's type in X position. I think it's going to be X position of the object. It's going to be player. And we want to set it to is less than or equal to -50. So less than or equal to -50. Okay, we'll add another subcondition, and this time it's going to be Y position. We're going to compare the Y position of the player. And this one's going to be different. This one's going to be greater than or equal to, and I think it was going to be 600. Good. Say OK. Save. OK. And again, just double check your symbols just to make sure that you got the right greater than, less than. OK, and then over here for the action, we're going to change the variable state. We're going to change it to 2. So again, I'm going to copy and paste. And I'll change it to 2. And save. Okay, so to finish up this tutorial, if I now go ahead and press play to test, so now we're in state 0, spacebar, we're now in state 1, and then if my character does fall off or gets pushed off to the side, you'll see that we're now in state 2, which is game over, and you'll see that the character is still moving, which I'm not in love with, but you'll see that the platforms have stopped, so that is working. So we'll see if the tutorial will let us make him stop walking, because that looks a little weird. And we'll go on from there. But this is the end of this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one, which I think might wrap everything up. See you then.